Nicole Kidman has filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage.
For nearly 20 years, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were seen as one of the strongest couples in entertainment. They smiled on red carpets, held hands at award shows, and spoke warmly about each other in interviews. To the public, they looked calm, loving, and deeply connected. There were no loud scandals, no messy social media fights, and no public accusations. Their marriage became a symbol of stability in two very demanding worlds, Hollywood and the music industry. That is why any serious discussion about trouble in their relationship feels shocking to many people. When a couple like this faces problems, it makes people stop and ask questions. Not because we want drama, but because it reminds us that even the most admired relationships can carry quiet struggles behind closed doors. One of the most interesting things about high-profile marriages is how carefully they are presented to the public. Celebrities often share their happiest moments, but keep their hardest ones private. This does not mean they are lying. It simply means they are human. Marriage is complicated, and when two people both have busy careers, the pressure becomes even stronger. Nicole Kidman is one of the most successful actresses in the world. Keith Urban is one of the biggest names in country music. Both careers require time, travel, and emotional energy. For many years, they managed to balance these demands. At least, that is how it appeared from the outside. But silence can sometimes say more than words. When famous couples stop sharing details, stop doing joint interviews, or stop speaking openly about each other, people notice. Silence does not automatically mean something is wrong, but it often signals change. In this case, the lack of public explanation has pushed people to look elsewhere for understanding. Instead of interviews, people look at patterns. Instead of statements, they look at choices. And instead of emotional speeches, they look at structure. How lives are organized, how time is spent, and how responsibilities are divided. This kind of analysis does not accuse anyone. It simply observes. Over time, observers noticed that Nicole appeared to spend more time based in one place, while Keith's work kept him moving constantly. Touring musicians live on the road. Their schedules change weekly. Their nights are spent in different cities, often far from home. Actors, on the other hand, usually work in blocks. They film a project for several months, then return home for long periods. This difference may seem small, but over many years, it can shape a marriage in powerful ways. When one partner is physically present most of the time, and the other is frequently away, the emotional weight of daily life often falls unevenly. Another thing people notice is how parenting roles develop. In many families, one parent naturally becomes the main organizer of daily life. This does not mean the other parent does not care. It simply means that schedules and responsibilities push things in a certain direction. Over time, that direction becomes routine. What once felt temporary starts to feel permanent. And when routines harden, they can create distance between partners, even when love still exists. Nicole and Keith have always spoken with respect about each other. That respect makes the silence even louder. When couples who usually share openly suddenly say nothing, it invites interpretation. People begin to ask whether the relationship slowly changed rather than suddenly broke. Many long marriages do not end with one dramatic moment. They fade over time. Conversations become shorter. Time together becomes rare. shared goals slowly drift apart. This kind of ending is quieter, but often more painful, because there is no clear moment when everything went wrong. What makes this situation especially emotional for many viewers is the idea of emotional exhaustion. The feeling of carrying responsibility alone, even while being married, can wear a person down. It is not about blame. It is about balance. When one partner feels like they are always adjusting, and the other is always moving forward with work, resentment can grow silently. Not because either person is bad, but because their lives no longer move at the same speed. In the end, this first part of the story is not about documents, numbers, or rumors. It is about contrast. Public love versus private strain. Smiles versus silence. Appearances versus daily reality. When we understand this contrast, we can begin to understand how even a strong-looking marriage might quietly reach a breaking point without public drama or angry words. To understand why some marriages struggle, especially in celebrity families, we must talk about time. Time is the one thing no career can create more of. Every job takes time away from something else. In families, time often becomes the most valuable resource of all. Being present does not only mean being loving. It means being there for daily routines, school events, emotional moments, and ordinary days that never make headlines. Over years, the parent who is home more often usually becomes the emotional center of the household. In relationships where both partners work demanding jobs, balance is possible, but it requires constant effort. When that effort starts to fall unevenly, cracks can form. Touring musicians like Keith Urban often spend more than half the year traveling. Concerts, rehearsals, promotions, and recording sessions pull them away from home for long stretches. Even when they deeply love their families, physical absence changes the rhythm of family life. Phone calls and video chats help, but they do not replace shared meals, shared mornings, or shared responsibility. Actors like Nicole Kidman also travel, but their work often allows longer breaks at home. This can create an unspoken shift in family roles. One partner becomes the default parent, the one who handles daily decisions, emotional support, and structure. Over time, this role becomes exhausting, especially if it feels unshared. Not because the other parent is careless, but because their lifestyle makes equal participation difficult. This imbalance can slowly change how partners see each other. Another important factor is identity. Careers are not just jobs for celebrities. They are identities. When both partners are deeply tied to their work, it can be hard to step back. Choosing family time can feel like choosing against professional momentum. For some people, this trade-off feels impossible. For others, it becomes necessary. When partners make different choices about this balance, distance can grow. Not loudly, but quietly, day by day. Over the years, public statements from both Nicole and Keith showed deep affection and mutual respect. But respect alone cannot fix distance created by lifestyle differences. Love does not automatically solve practical problems. Who is home when children need stability? Who adjusts their schedule when work conflicts with family life? These questions may not cause fights, but they create emotional weight. The partner who adjusts more often may begin to feel unseen. The partner who is away may feel misunderstood. Both can feel lonely in different ways. There is also the issue of routine. Children thrive on routine, and the parent who provides it often becomes the emotional anchor. This does not mean the other parent is less important. It simply means that stability shapes attachment. Over time, family structures often reflect this reality. Again, this is not blame. It is a result of time and presence. When observers talk about custody or parenting arrangements, they are often really talking about patterns that already existed long before any formal decisions were made. It is important to speak carefully here. Being away for work does not make someone a bad parent. Many families function beautifully, with one parent traveling often. But success depends on communication, shared effort, and emotional availability when present. When these elements weaken, even unintentionally, families feel it. The stress does not always explode. Sometimes it settles quietly into emotional distance. But another layer to consider is emotional labor. Emotional labor includes planning, worrying, organizing, and caring. It is invisible, but heavy. When one partner carries most of this labor, burnout becomes real. Over time, burnout can turn into emotional withdrawal. This does not mean love disappears. It means energy does. And when energy disappears, pretending everything is fine becomes harder. In long marriages, people change. Their needs change. What worked in the early years may not work later. If one partner continues living the same way while the other adapts, imbalance grows. That imbalance does not need drama to end a relationship. It only needs time. And time, slowly but steadily, can reshape even the strongest bonds. The most important thing to understand about the possible end of a long marriage like this is that it does not need villains. Real life is rarely that simple. Two people can love each other deeply and still reach a point where continuing together causes more pain than separation. This does not mean the years together were a lie. It means circumstances changed, needs changed, energy changed, and pretending otherwise became too heavy to carry. When people talk about not pretending anymore, they are often talking about emotional honesty. The honesty to admit that effort no longer brings closeness. The honesty to admit that living parallel lives is not the same as sharing one. This kind of realization usually comes after years of trying. It is quiet, personal, and painful. It does not arrive suddenly. It builds slowly, through missed moments, emotional distance, and growing exhaustion. Public silence around such moments is understandable. Not everything needs to be explained. Not every ending needs a public speech. Sometimes protecting children, privacy, and personal dignity matters more than public understanding. When famous people choose silence, it does not mean they are hiding something terrible. It often means they are choosing peace over performance. This is why responsible commentary must stay careful. We can talk about patterns without declaring judgment. We can discuss time, presence, and lifestyle differences without assigning moral failure. A marriage can end simply because two lives no longer fit together in the same way. That truth is less dramatic than scandal, but more honest. In the end, what many people see in this story is something familiar. The challenge of balancing work and family. The quiet cost of constant travel. The emotional weight of being present alone. The difficulty of letting go when love still exists, but partnership no longer works. These themes are universal, even when the people involved are famous. If there is one lesson here, It is that strong relationships require more than affection. They require alignment. When alignment fades, no amount of public praise can replace private connection. And when connection fades, pretending becomes a burden. Letting go, while painful, can sometimes be the most honest act of all. This story, at its core, is not about numbers, documents, or rumors. It is about time, about presence, about the quiet moments that shape relationships more than any public speech ever could. And sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is stop pretending and choose a life that feels real again. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were married for 19 years, which in the world of celebrities is a very long time. To many people, their marriage looked strong, loving, and stable. They appeared together at award shows, talked kindly about each other in interviews, and raised 2 daughters while managing very busy careers. That is why the news of their divorce shocked so many fans. But when we look closely at how their marriage was built from the beginning, especially from a legal and financial point of view, a deeper and more complex story begins to appear. One of the most important details is how clean and simple their divorce is. There is no fight over money. There is no demand for spousal support. There are no long court battles. Nicole keeps her film and television earnings. Keith keeps his music catalog, touring income, and royalties. This kind of separation, after almost 2 decades of marriage, usually happens only when a very strong prenuptial agreement exists. A prenuptial agreement is a legal contract signed before marriage that clearly explains what will happen if the marriage ever ends. It protects both people and avoids future conflict. In this case, the prenup appears to have been very clear and very strict. Nicole had strong reasons to protect herself. When she married Keith in 2006, she was already one of the most powerful and successful actresses in the world. She had an Oscar, global fame, and massive earning power. She had also gone through a very public and painful divorce before, which likely taught her hard lessons about love, privacy, and legal protection.